Hi there, Simon from simonwoods.com. Today we're on Majestic's set of white wines for the Comic Relief campaign. Buy any of these bottles at Majestic and 10% of the cost price goes towards the Wine Relief project. Without any further ado, we are on New Zealand to start with. Now New Zealand, probably best known for its Sauvignon Blanc, but we are on Pinot Grigio here. Smells really nice and fresh and quite exotic. It's got things like pears, pineapple, and there's got a touch of, you know, this little bit of dusting of icing sugar you get on the outside of dolly mixture. There's something like that. It's quite a full-bodied wine. You don't think of Pinot Grigio as being full-bodied, but 14%, quite a lot of alcohol in there. Let's see whether it packs as much of a punch as you think it's going to from that figure. A really rich mouthful, that. Sometimes Pinot Grigio can be almost pretty close to drinking water with a little bit of alcohol in there, but this has got real weight. It's got quite an exotic, spicy ginger character. And it's funny, I put this one first because I thought it might be on that lighter side. We've got another Pinot Grigio, although it's not labelled as such, as the last wine in this lineup. Maybe I should have put it next to there, but tasty, quite fleshy and full-bodied. I would, maybe it's a bit too rich to have as what I call a kiss me quick or Desperate Housewives type of wine. In other words, the sort of thing that you sit down and have a glass of when you get in, or you're just relaxing at the end of the evening in front of the telly. Bring out something like mushroom risotto, or yeah, something quite creamy and chickeny. Tasty wine. Okay, next two. Hopefully these two are going to be just as tasty. We are on Riesling now. Now, I don't know if you're one of those people who, when they hear the word Riesling and see bottles this shape, you say, but I don't like sweet wine. Well, it's not quite that simple. You see, Riesling is a grape variety, and it's in the way that chicken is a meat. And just as with a piece of chicken, you can have Kentucky Fried Chicken, sorry, KFC or whatever we're supposed to call it now. You can have chicken peri-peri, you can have chicken Kiev, you can have grilled breast of chicken, you can have chicken sandwiches, you can have loads and loads of different sorts of chicken. So you can do it with Riesling. You can make a sweet wine with it, but you can make a dry wine. I've got a feeling that we've got a dry wine and an off-dry wine here. First one is from Germany, Fritz's Riesling. Nice clean labelling, and with screw cap, and just 10.5% alcohol. So 10.5% alcohol here, 14% there. Does that mean it's going to have more calories in 14% one? Well, it's not quite that simple. You see, this one here, the 14% one, is a dry wine. This one, I imagine, is going to have what's called a little bit of residual sugar. In other words, when the person was fermenting it, and the sugar turned to alcohol, and they just thought, right, okay, I want that little bit of sweetness in there just to balance the wine, and stop the fermentation, leaving it with 10.5% alcohol and maybe a little bit of residual sugar. And that residual sugar has got calories. So what you can get is you can get a 14% alcohol wine that has got really low residual sugar, and this typical glass of that, 150ml glass, would have about 110 to 120 calories. Then you get one that's maybe, say, 10.5%, like this one, but it's got 50 grams of sugar, which is not unheard of for something like White Zinfandel or a lot of off-dry German wines, certainly at the cheaper end of the market. That's very, very common, 10.5% alcohol, 50 grams per litre, that's how they describe it, of residual sugar. Do you know what? They've both got the same calories. So it's not as simple as saying higher the alcohol, the higher the calories in the glass. If you've got a sweeter wine, they will have higher calories as a result. Anyway, back to the wine. Fritz. Now there's quite a bit going on in this wine. What I smell first of all, there's something like oily peach juice character. There's an exotic edge, but then there's this fresher end, like a bit of citrus fruit. So citrus and peach. Also, and it's a character that often you'll find in German Riesling, there's something ever so slightly kerosene-like. It sounds horrible, but a little bit of it could just add a little bit of interest to the wine, and that's what it's doing here. Well, it's quite low in alcohol, but it certainly packs a weight of flavour. And yes, it is off dry, but it's not one of those that leaves your mouth feeling like you've been drinking fruit syrup or anything like that. Undiluted cordial. What it's got is it's got zip and freshness, and it's a horrible day outside. It's tipping down with rain. This is a sort of wine, what I call cricket match wine. If you go to a picnic and you want to sit on a village green somewhere and recall the days of yore and have something to sip, something like this, perfect. Lots of flavour. It's got a screw cap, so if you forget the corkscrew, you're still in. And yeah, and it's weighty enough to stand up to quite a lot of food, particularly a sort of summer picnic food. I think of egg and cress sandwiches and a glass of that. Maybe not the classic food combination, but I'd be very happy to dig into that. But it's also fresh enough, and it's got enough, not too many hard edges to make it drink nicely by itself. So by itself, with a picnic, perfect. Let's see whether the next one's in. I think it's going to be a slightly different style, because we are in Australia now, and still with the Riesling grape, hand-picked Riesling. And Napstein, 2010, Clare Valley. It's got lots and lots of information on here. The Clare Valley offers differing topography, geology and soils. Its climate is defined by warm, dry days and clear, cold nights. I'm really not sure how many other food products put this sort of detail on the back of bottles, and a little bit of it is good, but sometimes there's too much on there and you think, sounds like a bit complicated. Can we have something a bit easier to understand? Anyway, let's see if the wine's easy to understand. And quite a different beast. First one was off dry, this one feels like it's going to be bone dry, and there's almost a stern, steely character to it. It feels like it's ever so slightly Teutonic, and it's got a very straight spine and high cheekbones, and it doesn't take much messing, but it's probably got a slightly risque side that comes out eventually. Let's see whether it does when you give it a whirl. It's funny, it's got that sternness to start with, but then it opens up to this really quite voluptuous fruit. Again, on that exotic, it's got a bit of guava, pawpaw, but the citrus freshness, keeping this, and there's this spine all the way through, sort of making sure that you sit up straight and hold your knife and fork properly, but then giving you a naughty wink. Next wine, we are in Burgundy with Louis Latour, a well-known Burgundy producer, and this is their Puy Vinzel. Well, it smells like it's going to be quite a rich, full-bodied wine. This is, as I say, the southern end of Burgundy, so it's warmer than maybe some of the, certainly Chablis was quite a bit further north, and you get it's not as firm and steely as Chablis, but it feels like it's a lot more relaxed and a lot more comfortable, and maybe it's got a little bit of what the French call tour de poitrine, in other words, muffin tops. So let's see whether that fatness comes through in the wine. Yeah, it's rich, oily, almost nutty, and with this juicy peach, tinned plum syrup. I can't remember the last time I had tinned plums, but there's this bite of plums, but with this oily richness around it as well. Tasty. Doesn't feel like it's going to be a wine that's going to be around for all that long, but when it tastes like that, I mean, I just sort of woof it open, have it with some what would I have that with? Sort of fish, fish cooked reasonably simply, but in quite a rich sauce, yeah, big buttery sauce that would go nicely with that, because there's almost a buttery character in the wine. We are now in South Africa. Ken Forrester, Stellenbosch is the region, Chenin Blanc. And it's funny, there's a nice mixture of richness and tension. What I mean by that is it feels like it's got quite, you're going to have quite weighty fruit flavours, and there's, I think has it been in a barrel for a bit? Yeah, it's got a touch of barrel-aged character to it, so you're getting this vanilla character coming through. But then there's this more stern, serious apple side as well, and which is keeping it fresh, like green apple freshness. All the while round it there's things like honey and honeysuckle. It feels like quite exotic. You can imagine bees buzzing around the neck of the bottle. Very tasty wine. What's great about it is yes, this mixture of richness with with backbone. Maybe the Puy Vinzel didn't have it. It had this lovely rich flavour, but if it lacked something, it was something to hold it all together and keep it from just going that little bit wobbly. This one has got both. It's got the crispness and the freshness, but then it's got this exotic side, and then the crispness reins it in and the exotic side reasserts itself, and feels like a wine. I mean, this is a 2009 vintage. Chenin Blanc ages really nicely, so I wouldn't be surprised if 5 years from now a wine like this is still going strong, and it's not ridiculously priced as well. I mean, let's have a see, have I got a price thing here? Let's have a shufty, £7. Can't fault it at that price, especially when 70p of it's going to wine relief. We started with Pinot Grigio. We're finishing with Pinot Gris, again in one of those bottles that puts some people off. Don't let it put you off. This is Alsace, the bit of eastern France, northern eastern France, where it's a strange climate. Often this is the one of the warmest, driest parts of France, even though it's so far north. And this comes from a co-op called the Cave de Turckheim. Turckheim's a village, and a lot of the growers in that village will bring their small amounts of grapes to the co-op, and they'll put their blends together as a result of that. But Alsace has got some terrific co-ops. And we started with Dolly Mixture, we're finishing with Dolly Mixture. These two are really quite similar in aroma. There's that apple and pineapple freshness in both of them, mixed with this dusting of icing sugar stroke Dolly Mixture character. And the flavours of both of them are quite similar too, but why I prefer this one, it seems to have got a little bit more freshness and tang about it. The South Bank one was really rich and tasty, but maybe never so slightly flabby. This one's got the rich flavours, and again, for the same reason I like the Chenin Blanc, it's got that bit of tang to hold it all together rather than to stop it going wobbly. But it's Majestic. This is a really nice set of 6 wines, and I hope that all you people watching it will go out and buy lots of them, spend loads of money. Comic Relief stroke Wine Relief will get loads of it, and you'll have a nice time in the process. See you soon.